Oi, galera, tudo bem? Sejam bem-vindos para mais uma edição de Porsche Consulting Conecta. Para as pessoas que já conhecem o nosso programa, vocês sabem que cada vez a gente traz pessoas e conteúdos interessantes para o mundo de negócio. E hoje nós temos uma honra muito especial, nós temos um convidado, um executivo excelente e para mim, pessoalmente, também um amigo, e o Markus Uellendahl da Porsche Consulting Alemanha. Markus, seja bem-vindo.
Bom dia.
Bom dia, isso mesmo. O Markus é o nosso Sênior Partner para Operações e ele está aqui essa semana comigo para visitar empresas, clientes, pessoas importantes no mercado e trazer um pouquinho do nosso conteúdo da Europa para o Brasil. E hoje vai ser uma grande honra para mim conversar com ele. E para fazer isso, eu vou mudar agora para o inglês, ok? Maravilha! Markus, I'm so happy that you're here and we had a great week and today we will have the opportunity to reflect a little bit of what we've seen. 2 weeks ago, I was in Germany and you hosted the big event, the Operations Summit in Berlin, with the participation of a lot of companies with a lot of content. And I think now it's a good time to really reflect what was discussed there, and you can compare it to what you've seen now during the week here in Brazil. So again, I'm very glad that you're here, and tell us a little bit about your personal career, and then we swap to the content of the summit.
Okay, awesome. First of all, thanks a lot for having me here today. It's a great pleasure to be in Brazil all the time. Just as a reminder, I came out of -5 degrees. I think here it's roughly 36, so that's about
a big difference of temperature.
40 degrees, so there's already a big difference to Europe, but I love it. Well, my career, I'm 23 years now in professional work. 9 years of that I used to work for Airbus in the aerospace sector for all sorts of different operational activities. So my background is not a typical management consultant, but I love it ever since. I've stayed now for 14 years with Porsche Consulting. And currently as a senior partner, you introduced it, I'm leading our global practice operations. This means basically we integrated all of our teams from sourcing, supply chain, manufacturing and quality. So basically the entire value chain or COO perspective under one umbrella 2 years ago because we were convinced to deliver to our customers not only our functional capabilities but the cross-functional perspective. That's roughly over 100 consultants currently. I'm leading this together with my colleague David Robanowski. He's a co-lead for the practice. I cover America and Brazil.
Good.
Which I'm very happy about.
Yes, me too.
And he's looking onto the Asia and China, and we both share Europe.
Yeah. And you just mentioned the COO agenda. I mean, this was the topic for the event that you hosted 2 weeks ago, and it was impressive because there were so many different companies representing, and we've seen that the people on the C-level, the COOs and even CEOs, they were there and they were discussing the actual scenario. So how did you came up with this event? What was the goal behind it? And then you can talk a little bit about the content. I mean, there were 3 main pillars. Tell us a little bit about what was the main red line for this event.
Well, I think, thanks for saying it was a big success. I think you're right. We were a little afraid because usually we take our clients to the Porsche locations in Zuffenhausen and Leipzig. And we did want to do a large event at the beginning of the year. Unfortunately, we couldn't perform it due to construction issues and both sides. So we had a challenge. So that's when it all started, and we decided to go to Berlin, where I lead our office because we have many different technical opportunities to host such large events. And so we tried to combine a classical platform for presentations and panel discussions, which I will tell later about, together with the opportunity to bring the plants digitally to our customers. We used a huge new technology, an immersive room. You saw
Yes.
it,
Very nice.
like really 80 people in one room, surrounded by large screens, to be in the factory, and we knew we could leverage that, and just tried some new things to conduct the tour virtually.
Yes. Yes.
The day itself was aimed at delivering content, our strategy paper, the COO
Yes.
agenda, we worked on for the last 2 years. You can, I guess there's a link afterwards in the documentation.
Yes.
You can get that online.
I'm going to put that here in the...
So that was, of course, our content part, and we focused especially on the future of factories and industrialization, and the second part was on supply chain resilience and footprint challenges. The immersive tour was focusing especially on smart factory, of course. So we showed a great story of the past 7 years of transformation at Porsche. We can talk about that later. And last but not least, we wanted to also integrate a political perspective. There are lots of changes currently going on in the US, in China. And we had a member of the German Business Association there, as well as a former ambassador from Great Britain, France, and the States for Germany.
Yes.
And he gave our clients and us great insights on what to expect from the political point of view, that they can transfer it back to their companies.
Yes.
And of course, there was a lot of networking opportunities during the day, many pauses and good talks. And I think we should do it again.
For sure.
Got a great feedback from many clients.
Yeah. No, it was great. I mean, our clients of Porsche Consulting all over the world, they know that most of the time during a project, we have the possibility to visit our plants of Porsche in Germany, either in Stuttgart or in Leipzig or both of them. And during the event, Markus explained, we had this immersive room where we could do a virtual tour. And it was very close to the reality. So it was a great opportunity to explain the different methodologies which are implemented there. And we even had the participation of Mr. Reimold, the COO of Porsche, the car manufacturer. So it was a really great experience at that point to see what Porsche has done. And Markus and his team, they were accompanying a lot of years already this development. And this is a great base that we can share with other clients from other industries. And looking into that, Markus told already that even a lot of actions are going on, even politically or with energy, economically. So tell us a little bit, what are the challenges, especially for the COOs and in their agenda, what they were talking about during the event?
Yes, let me first jump back for one moment, because I realize we're sitting in front of such
you
a
see
picture.
The background here.
So basically, to give our viewers a feeling, we were inside such a scenery, except it was moving. And for us, it was quite a challenge, because having the COO, so the basically owner and driver of that two factories, knowing every detail, was a challenge to present it to our clients. So it was definitely no advertisement. It was all real, and that was really important to us. And he gave us also great feedback on that.
Great.
So coming to the challenges, I think as we started the day, we have to look at a higher perspective first before we jump into the CEO perspective, because that's why we started it political. I mean, we all know we leave, so to speak, the era of globalization. We all grew up, both of us, in a time when win-win mentality was the way to do it. We were talking about trade in between companies, in between nations, meant wealth for all, prosperity for all, which I hope still is valid for the future. But due to new regulations, protectionism, which has been raised in the past years, basically since Russia attacked Ukraine, so since 2022, it first felt like it's some new conflicts, and the frequency of the conflicts has risen, but at the end it's a new era where you have to to reflect what does that mean for my company, what does it mean for my global operations, for my footprint, especially if you are engaged in all sort of regions. So I think that's the overlapping, overarching challenge for everyone, and that's why we also discussed a lot on this changes, not only to look on efficiency, which is of course still biggest priority for operations. This doesn't change, but what does it mean to have a stable company, stable operations across the globe, being more resilient, and that leads to what we have here, more agility, more flexibility in my networks, in my factories, setups, that I can shift products more easily if I want to, if I need to, and still have an efficient operations. And the large question was about how to do that end to end. It doesn't matter which company, they need to look at it really from an end-to-end perspective. What does the customer need? What do I fulfill? And what does the customer get? How do I plan and steer it? How do I operate it in my region, but also cross-regional, globally? And what does the fragmentation mean to my company? The second, of course, coming from the smart factory we just talked about, was everything on AI. How does AI and the potential fuels the already going on transformation in the factories? I mean, we lose, not lose, but we use a lot of technology in automation of physical processes. That has been always the case. Is it economically, is it feasible? How much flexibility do I lose? And on the other hand, the automation of information processes, using software supporting me in, like we just discussed this week, if you have many manual steps in the maintenance area and you walk back and forth to get your documentation, to buy parts and stuff, how can you use a tablet with a software application helping you by that? And of course, all this is based on data, and data is the fuel for the AI, and everyone's asking, how can I leverage that to automate my decisions, to get better decisions, quicker decisions? And I think the last one, last biggest challenge is on cross-functional alignment. All the participants we had there, roughly 50% were COOs directly, or C-level participants coming from manufacturing, procurement, supply chain, needing to work together. So it's always a question about aligning my leaders, my different functions, so that at the end we have a good result, best for the company, which is not always that easy. So there is also a management, leadership, and organizational issue aligned to that.
For sure. I mean, you mentioned the 3 points, and it was impressive that the challenges, they were common in all the different industries which participated. And you especially, I mean, Markus was one of the leaders for the development of the smart factory at Porsche, which is up to today one of the most modern smart factories that I know, which exists and which is implemented. And it was something which came out of the development of Industry 4.0. That was a huge word. And then we came smart factory. And now the newest thing is AI. And I would like to ask you about the AI topic, because for sure that it's a great interest. It's a word which is like in every place you go, you hear it. Do you see it also, the AI, again, as a new disruption part? Or do you see it as robotization? For us, robotization or 4.0 was not so much a disruption. It was a continuous development in the search of more efficiency and productivity. How do you evaluate the impact of AI nowadays on operations?
Well, I still see it like you just described it, to be honest. I remember back in 2015, 16, when there was not much talking about AI yet. But we talked about how can we lever technology based on data, which is in the processes, to automate decision. We were dreaming about systems could support us in taking over decisions, giving us certain recommendations, how to run a certain line, for instance, where to do the rework in a station. And we were thinking about that. We didn't name that AI. We didn't know about AI back then. But why do I tell that? Back then it was clear this will never work without the data behind the processes. And so I think many factories and operations in the past years still running that. Yes. Needing to digitize their processes, connecting the machines, getting the data before they can use that technology, creating impact. But of course, you ask, how can that create impact? I think I believe in two main things. One is we already see that. We talked about the example of humanoid robots.
Yes.
Which is fascinating technology. I'm not a technology preacher, but it's fascinating to see that this type of technology is already running in use cases, yes. Working as humans. We expect them to work as good as the human capabilities, but quicker beyond 2030. Yeah. There are 20 companies across the globe running for serious production of that technology, so there must be interesting solutions even before 2030. And AI is a big technology facilitating that part of automation.
Yeah.
I think without quick reinforced learning and so on, this would not work.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it gives us good help once we have the data in our information processes. Production people planning, simulating code for machinery. The code is passed to the series production, used in the production itself. People are causing quality problems. All this is data, and you need to rethink, do I need a new part? Do I need to reschedule, rework for that certain product? This is done manually in many factories today, of course. A human decides that. And AI today, if you feed the data, if you have the data, and if you explain what to do with it and train it, basically, then it can be done automatically. Currently, we see many solutions where there's still not the largest trust in the decision of the machine. So you get the scenarios and the recommendations, but you say A, B, or C.
Yes.
But I guess it will be only a short time that the machine learns better and the human trusts in that recommendation. So you can leave the decision for A, B, or C to the machine and trust in it. But it's again, and we had that discussion during the week with your clients as well.
Yes.
With all the fascination about that technology, it should have a business case. It should have an impact at least below 2 years of return on investment. Otherwise, I mean, still we are in the business and want to earn money. And any investment has to pay back. So I think that's also crucial in that transformation.
Yeah, no, great. I mean, you mentioned our visits from this week, because at the event we had also some representatives from Brazil, and the discussions about technology. We know that always in Europe, China, or United States are already advanced, and all the companies that you mentioned, the 20 companies which are investing in very intelligent robots, they are in these regions. But this week we had the visits here in Brazil, and I think it was good for Markus to see a little bit what is the status right here, because we have seen a variety of industries. We visited consumer goods, we visited industrial goods, we've seen automotive, we've seen aerospace, we've seen a lot of things this week, construction. So we had a great portfolio, and I think Markus was able to get an idea what is the status, and it's not always the same. So in Brazil, we're very different in different areas. So I would like to ask you for your impression from this week, to seeing different cities, different industries, different companies. How do you compare that to what you know from our core business in the United States, in Europe, and the comparison to Brazil? How do you see these differences? What are your main takeaways from that visits?
Well, I still have so many impressions.
To process, a lot of things to process.
A lot of things to process, yes. First of all, I want to say that I take out of the week, I'm quite envious about the opportunities Brazil has and the Brazilian companies have. Nevertheless, if it's a Brazilian-owned company, owner we met, or like an American company investing here, I think it's really different than, for instance, what we majorly see in Europe. What do I mean? Due to the overarching topic we discussed in the beginning, in Europe we face many times more of efficiency going to even up to closing factories, reducing the demand for products have reduced a lot coming from states, from China.
Yes.
So we are talking a lot about either moving capacities from Europe to the local markets, which is of course also an interesting consulting project, but from the European perspective it's a stagnation.
Yes.
And that's a different talk you have with your clients. And here I basically was reminded of our good old saying, "Crescer sin crecer," I learned, which is true. You have all the challenges were related to how do you create efficiency. They ask us to grow, to get more volume, which of course is always a very nice motivation.
Yes.
And that's what I'm envious about. So I think taking that away, it seems to me that Brazil has great opportunities ahead, playing a larger role in between those two fragments. And if the Brazilians are leveraging that intelligently, I think it's going to be a great economy in the upcoming years. And second, I think there's no big difference in between European customers or Brazilian customers in terms of what do they expect from us, from technology impulses. It's the same level of discussions, how their processes are working, what do we do, what can we share. So I think we can attach very, very quick and help very good, adapted to their needs. So the questions on the content side are the same, which is nice to see. So that again, Brazil has lifted a lot in that. But and it's a very large country.
Yes.
I think Europeans, Germans always forget about that. Nice, but large country.
It's big.
So we just took that trip, 1.5 hours, for instance, to Belo Horizonte.
Which is not so far away.
Which is not far away. In Germany, this would mean you're already outside the country.
The country, yes.
So I think that's logistically, and we had that talks also, construction as well as the supply chain issues. Logistically, of course, completely different ball game. Also with your security issues here.
Yes.
So you just come up with different solutions. Digitizing the products, having transparency, also due to different motivation than we might have. And that was interesting to see.
Perfect. No, I think it's very good that you have this impression and we share this, this impression. Please.
Last one, which has become unusual. I really loved it. Very young. The majority of the people we meet in average is a lot younger.
Yeah.
And really like that.
Yeah. Now, again, we share this impression that right now we have a good momentum here in the region, in Brazil and Latin America. And this is a great opportunity for sure at the moment. And like you said, if we're able to organize some things, there's a huge potential for Brazil to become an important economy in this new constellation of the world. And our job as Porsche Consulting is always to help the companies with the current challenges that they have right now. But again, on the other side, like the visit of Markus, to show always a little bit the view of the future, what's going to be ahead. So the companies, they're not only working on what's going on right now, but they always are already looking for what they have to do in order to prepare themselves for what is coming next. And the robots was one example, and we can see that people are aware of it, and this is a great opportunity. But talking about the people, this is another question I would have for Markus, because we as Porsche, we always shared the vision. It's not going to be a dark factory, which is all automized, and maybe in the future it's only the robots. Maybe with the new technology, we come a little bit closer to that, but still so far as a company, we don't believe in that. But on the other hand, what do you have to do for the people, for the qualification, for the training, in order to prepare your people in the companies, either in Europe or here in Latin America, to cope with these new requirements and to be more collaborative with the technology which is coming up?
I think there's, at least from the side of the approach, nothing different than there used to be. You need to look at what you can learn during implementing technologies. I mean, not everyone in the company usually plans and implements this. So there's usually a team which of course needs maybe more knowledge, more training coming out of universities, but also having continuous training in new technologies so they can apply the latest ideas on their needs.
Yes.
But again, I think, as you just described, we would not be as successful if we would not try to take the people along the change, what we do.
Yes.
And that is, so to speak, learning by doing training.
Yeah.
So you need to explain what you implement, how to use it, why it matters to them, why it is better. I think that is still the biggest or most important training.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But of course, we have also, or what we try in Europe as well, is of course try to train from white collar to blue collar in these new solutions and technologies, so that they lose maybe also the fear of it. Because again, to us, it's usually a business case if it helps.
Yeah.
If it helps, if it supports, something's getting easier, quicker, or even is not there anymore.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about, and you have to understand that. Yeah.
Perfect. I mean, you just said it, training and learning by doing. This is something so very important, and we heard that a lot here in Brazil, that a lot of companies, they said, like, they have difficulties getting new people, they have difficulties to get qualified people. So we hear that a lot. In all the different industries, the guys say, no, it's in Brazil, it's different because we don't have the qualified people. But at the end, it's an effort. If you see the people also in Europe or in our company, that's not the case, that you get the people 100% ready to work in your process, in your company. There's a lot of effort in training and qualifying the people on the job. And I think this is the secret sauce if you want to have a more qualified and more professional workforce. That's a lot of responsibility for the companies to do that. So this is a secret.
And also, I think it also depends, of course, on the size of what you train. If you imagine all the clients who have large transformations towards electrification, that usually, of course, is a qualification you need to build up. So you can use small demonstration stations for these people to go through this, to have trainings for weeks or months even, depending on where you start with the people.
Exactly.
To then let them go into the facilities and deal safe with the new processes.
Yeah. Markus, one more question, which was also a big hype, ESG, and especially the sustainability. This was in CO2 footprint. That was a big thing, and probably still is. I want to hear your interpretation of that. We still feel like here in Brazil, the people know about it, they are aware of it, but still with a lot of companies we talk, they still consider it more an additional cost than an opportunity or something where they can gain a benefit out of it. So we have the feeling that in Brazil, the companies, they still think they cannot pass this additional cost to the end consumer, and that the market is still looking for low prices. What is the situation more in Europe, where you come from, in your environment, and maybe the link to smart factory and the COO challenges? How do the COOs there incorporate this topic in these actual challenges?
Well, honest answer, I mean, for every company across the world, I personally believe, unfortunately, it's still viewed often like you described, from burden to what is the business case.
Yeah.
So the basic motivation environmentally is not always there, unfortunately. I think this will change.
Yeah.
I just had a morning in your office with some colleagues who live here for years and describe also the weather changes.
The weather change, yes.
You see, so I think the awareness will start. But let's start with ESG. I think the first wave of sustainability was driven in by regulation.
Yes.
Creating awareness.
Yeah.
And of course, many companies have tried to set up and ask themselves, okay, how much do I need to implement in order to be compliant with the regulations? That's a complete different motivation than believing in climate change and needing to do something. I think this changes now. If you want to link to the operations, for instance, to factories, the first, so to speak, more business case driven approach came from renewable energies.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're able to perform up to 80-90% of your electricity coverage, even in Europe, I imagine here it's a lot easier with all the sun.
Yeah.
And this is definitely a case. So many factories transformed towards that, to have more renewable energy, that to reduce carbon footprint. So that's even business case driven.
Yeah.
And what is coming up is the look on the raw material. We talked about fragmentation. We talked about also on that day blocked access. If you cannot get your raw material, even if you have the money, but you just simply cannot buy it because they don't let you to buy it, then it's of course also crucial, where do I get this material from? Can I recover it from built products I already sold to my customers? Can I take them back? Not only recycle, but maybe refurbish, repair, repurpose the products and reuse material. There are examples where there is definitely business case behind it. If you just take one large example of the battery, today a car battery can be reused as an energy capacity holder in your household.
Yes.
This is a repurpose example. But if you just look at recycling of batteries, the technologies are able to recover over 90% meanwhile with the most used batteries. So that's a huge reason to invest in it, because you can reuse the one sourced material. Of course, I admit that this is not as cheap as if you have the access, the classical way.
For sure.
But again, we're talking about flexibility and also the sustainable motivation. And so I think, again, as the same as in digitization, we will look at it business case driven and will implement it. And even has a resilience issue there.
Yes.
If you cannot access the material again, but you can recover it, you can work within your own local area.
Perfect.
And so it's still a topic which is unfortunately not really, I can feel that, motivated in the companies.
Yeah.
But we have put a lot of effort into describing how you can set up value chains recovering that material. So we as Porsche Consulting already know how to set up new value creation, so to speak. It's not only source, make, deliver, but it's getting the material back and repurpose, repair it, refurbish it, and how to do that on an industrial base. So I think this is rising and coming up. I expect it first in Europe, due to the society as well as the blocked access.
Yeah.
But this will not be restricted to Europe, I guess.
Perfect. No, I think we have still a lot to learn here in the region. We have the two sides. The good side here in Brazil, in our region, is that we have already way over 80% of all the energy produced is renewable. I mean, this is really a great advantage that we have due to the natural situation of the country. And on the other side, I mean, Europe and the US, there's always a lot of push in terms of technology. And I think we as Porsche Consulting, we have now the opportunity to combine these two worlds and also look what is possible, what can we transfer, and to do an exchange of knowledge between the different regions. And this is always what we're looking for. And therefore, Markus, thank you very much for your visit. It's always a pleasure. And it's great to show also that we as Porsche Consulting now in all the different regions, that we are well connected, and we are already discussing some possible projects where we also bring German consultants to Latin America. We bring Brazilian consultants to projects in Germany or US or China. So this is really a great opportunity. And thank you for your collaboration, for your friendship. It's always a pleasure to have you here. And I'm looking forward to the next project and your next visit, because we're going to now monitor the progress in all the areas.
Me too. It's always a great pleasure to be here, and I love the collaboration with you. You know that. Thanks a lot.
Perfect. Galera, muito obrigado. Até a próxima vez. Grande abraço. Tchau, tchau.
Abraço.